Alright guys, welcome back for another video for Haiku Fly High, and in today's video I'm going to do a character guide on Ushijima and also how to play him correctly. Now Ushijima is definitely one of the best characters in the game, both are global right now, but even at the endgame on the JP server etc. But in order to actually get the most out of him, you kind of need to build a team around him, and that's what today's video is going to be all about. Now what I'm going to cover in today's video is that I'll first do a quick rundown of all of his skills, so you know exactly what he's capable of and why he's such a beast in this game. Then secondly, I'm going to talk about his potential build, so you know exactly what substat and what potential set do you actually want to put on him. Thirdly, I'm going to talk about the best teammates that can be used to support him and how to build a team around him. And then lastly, at the end of the video, I'll also show you guys a quick demo of one of the strongest traits of Ushijima, is the fact that he can actually do his ultimate back-to-back. And I'll just show you guys in action so you guys can see it yourself as well. Now let's start off with the first part, which is talking about his skill. So his skill 2, I'm going to start off with that because it's very simple. It's just going to be a strong serve. Now it does say here that whenever the serve scores, you're going to be able to reduce the cooldown by 4 net crossing. However, because the cooldown naturally is 6 net crossing, what that basically means is that even if you score an ace, the next time around is still going to be in cooldown, so you won't actually be able to spam this back to back. The way you'll be serving with Ushijima is going to be starting off with a serving skill, and then if you're lucky, then you'll be able to do a normal serve and then alternate kind of between your serving skill and also a normal serve. Okay, so that's kind of the way it's going to go. Then let's talk about his skill 1, which is going to be very straightforward passive. You're just going to increase his awareness, and his awareness is actually going to increase at the end of each turn as well. So basically he's going to get stronger and stronger as the match goes on. Then let's take a look at his skill 3, which is basically when any one of your players do a critical spike, he's actually going to gain a buff to all his bases. And this kind of already going to give you some insights on the best way to team build for him, is that you actually want all of your players capable of doing critical spikes. Now it can be all of your players, or it can be just for Ushijima himself, which I'll talk about in a bit, because if you can actually do him correctly and actually spam his ultimate back to back, then you don't even need your other players to do critical spike, and you can just kind of concentrate all of the critical rate to Ushijima himself. But that kind of requires you to be a HAIKYU, which I'll talk about in a bit. And then lastly, we have his ultimate skill, which is going to be the fact that whenever you actually hit a critical hit with his ult, you're able to reduce the cooldown by 1 net crossing. Now this doesn't actually sound very good right now, because if you actually take a look, it's 8 net crossing, so this doesn't sound like much. However, everything's going to change. Like Ushijima's kit is going to get completely elevated as soon as you put 2 dupes in him, because this is probably the most important thing for him, which is that if you actually meant to get him to 2 dupes, you are able to reduce your ultimate cooldown to just 4 net crossing. And furthermore, whenever a player on your side performs a critical play, so it doesn't have to be a critical spike anymore, it can be a critical serve, can be a critical set, can be a critical receive, you are able to reduce your cooldown by a further 1 net crossing. And this is what allows Ushijima to actually do back-to-back ult. Because if you think about it, if your cooldown is only 4 net crossing, when you actually do the spike, assuming the spike actually goes through, right, that's going to be 1 net crossing. The opponent have to receive the ball back, so that's going to be another net crossing. And then if you actually build Ushijima with a crit build, you should be able to actually land the crit with your ult as well, in which case it will be reducing by further 1 net crossing. So even in the worst case scenario, your cooldown is going to be down to 1. So as long as you are able to get 1 critical play amongst your receive and also your set, you are then able to literally go your ultimate back to back. And this was the worst case scenario. In a lucky case scenario, let's say if the enemy was not actually able to receive, and then you're able to start off with a serve, that by itself is already able to give you 1 extra net crossing, and therefore you are guaranteed to be able to get to back-to-back ult straight away as well, without even that RNG chance. So that's kind of why this is absolutely massive, and it's going to be a complete game changer if you have Ushijima at dupe 2, and that's what I'm going to strongly recommend. Now obviously he's going to get even stronger at dupe this is basically dupe 7, I believe, because you will be doubling your awareness to make sure you're always almost guaranteed to crit, and on top of that you're able to actually recover 2 stamina, and this is also going to be massive, because even if you have this dupe 2 ability and you can actually spam your ult back to back, eventually you are going to run the stamina, because your Ushijima is literally doing everything for your team, right? So his stamina is going to go down very, very quickly, and unless you have a way to somehow recover stamina, otherwise your Ushijima is not actually going to be on the field for the whole match. And that's kind of why this dupe 10 or dupe 7, sorry, resonance total skill level 10 is also going to be massive. But obviously this is going to be super expensive, and I don't expect anyone to go all the way up to here straight away. Let's move on to the potential build for Ushijima. Now he's a power spiker. He only has an offensive move, as you can see. He has no receive, he has no block, etc. So it's going to be very clear that if you actually want to min-max this character, what the potential you should be bringing is literally going to be all the one relating to power attack. And that basically means the set you want to do is going to always be a 2 set of 1 power set and also a 4 set of the other power set. Now, out of the 2 power set, basically there are 2 different effects. One effect is that you're able to increase your attack technique by 10% when using power spike, and also you're able to recover your stamina. And then the other effect is going to be increasing your own awareness, and also when you actually do a critical hit, you're going to increase your crit damage as well. Now, looking at all of the skills I just mentioned, it's going to be quite obvious which one do you actually want to go for. It's always going to be this critical hit one, and that's kind of why this one, the one power vibe, is actually going to be the set that you want to concentrate on. And on top of that, if you can actually somehow get the main stat or get one of the substat to awareness, that's also going to be ideal, because you want to stack it in a way so that he is always capable of doing crit in order to reduce his own cooldown and try to go for that ultimate back-to-back. Now, that's not just the case for Ushijima. Like I said, you also want to build your team around so your other teammates can also do either critical receives, critical serves, or critical sets, etc. So awareness is going to be something, both awareness and also reflex, because reflex is basically your critical hit rate for the defensive stats. So for the blocks, for the receive, etc. Basically, your whole team should be built in a way where everyone's stacking up their awareness stats and also their reflex stats, so that you can continuously reduce the cooldown of Ushijima for him to do the back-to-back ultimate attack. Okay, now let's talk about the teammates that you can pair up with Ushijima in order to get the most out of him. Now, in my opinion, there are 3 different types of teammates that you want to look for when you are pairing up with Ushijima, depending on how many dupes your Ushijima is going to have. Because depending on how many dupes he has, he's able to unlock different skills, and then the things you want to look for through his teammate is going to be slightly different each time. Now, the one type of teammates that you're always going to be wanting to pair up Ushijima with are going to be the ones which are capable of increasing his crit rate or crit damage. And some good example is going to be Kageyama, Oakawa, and also Iwazuyumi. Now, Oakawa and also Kageyama is able to increase crit rate. Oakawa is able to do it slightly better, so he's probably going to be the better choice out of the 2. But obviously, because he's locked behind paywall, so if you don't actually have access to him, you can obviously pick Kageyama instead. And then Iwazuyumi is actually able to increase his critical damage for the entire team. So once again, that's going to pair very, very nicely with Ushijima, who's almost certainly always able to crit with his ultimate attack, okay? So that's kind of why those are the best type of teammates you can pair up with Ushijima. Then let's move on to the second type of teammates you want to pair with Ushijima, and those are going to be the ones who are capable of restoring stamina to him. Because unless your Ushijima has, I believe, 7 dupes in order to activate his second resonance effect, otherwise, even if you are capable of doing your back-to-back ultimate attack with him, you are going to run out your stamina very, very soon, especially in those long rallies. So what you want to do instead is that you actually want to have some teammates on your team which are capable of restoring stamina to keep that longevity for Ushijima. And some good example is going to be Sugawari, even though he is actually a setter, so he is unfortunately going to compete a position for Kageyama and Oakawa, so you have to be careful there. Or alternatively, it would be the likes of Enoshita, who is actually able to restore stamina and also further reduce cooldown once you actually have his dupe 2. Yeah, dupe 2. This is the first resonance level, so dupe 2. Or alternatively, you can also do it via Yamamoto, which doesn't need to be at higher dupe. However, you just need to unlock his training skill in order to restore stamina. Okay, so those are kind of the second type of characters that you can pair up with Ushijima in order to solve his longevity and stamina consumption issue. And then the third type of teammates that you can have with Ushijima are going to be the ones which are going to be capable of doing critical hits themselves or buy you time when your ultimate is not actually ready. And that is going to be especially the case for those free-to-play players out there with an Ushijima at 0 dupe. Because if your Ushijima is at 0 dupe, what's going to happen is that you won't actually be able to do your back-to-back ultimate attack all the time. Well, in fact, you won't be able to do it because the cooldown is going to be way too long for you guys. And then you actually have to alternate between Ushijima and maybe one or two other players before your cooldown is over so that you can then do his ultimate again with Ushijima. So in those kind of cases, when you are using other players or other teammates trying to do their spikes, you still actually want to activate Ushijima's passive, where when anyone do a critical play, you're going to buff Ushijima. So as a result, the likes of Hinata, who is able to increase his own crit rate, it's going to be very nice if you do actually need to alternate between Hinata and Ushijima, between all of your spikes. Another good teammate could be the likes of Suki, because whenever he does his spike, you're actually able to increase the awareness for the next spike. So that can be very nice if you actually need to alternate your ultimate skill between 3 different characters, let's say, or if you just want to give this extra crit rate to Ushijima to make sure that he is definitely able to crit when he spike. That could also be very nice as well. So he's also going to be a good teammate. And then I will also want to give an honorable mention to this guy from Abajo's side, because whenever he spikes, you're actually able to give 1 stack of attack tempo, which then increases the awareness for your whole team as well. So once again, this, even though it doesn't actually directly, help to buff your Ushijima's ability through his passive, you are actually able to increase the crit rate for your whole team, which then makes it easier for your whole team to land that crit and then buff your Ushijima in the future. But this is also going to be very nice. And also not to mention, if you don't actually have a co-op because he's actually locked behind paywall, this is also another way for you guys to get those attack tempo. Let's say if you actually want to pair him up with Kageyama instead, so that you can get benefit from Kageyama's base 10% awareness, but also up to another 10% from all those attack tempo stacks as well. Okay, now let me show you how to put everything I have talked about together into an actual team. And this is the team I've been rolling with personally myself as well. So basically, even though Ushijima have a surfing skill, from what I have seen so far, Yamaguchi and Okawa still does much better surf than what Ushijima is capable of doing. And as a result, I would always want to start off my surf with Yamaguchi and then Okawa. And the other nice thing about both of them too is the fact that when they actually do their surf, they get increased awareness as well, which makes it very nice, because then that means I'm guaranteed to be able to stack up my buff on my Ushijima very, very early on to make sure that even his very first 1 or 2 spikes in the game is already going to be it's already going to be a bit boosted from off the buff from other critical plays on my team. Okay, so that's basically my team rotation. And then in terms of the other players I have chosen, so Liberal obviously I picked Nishinoya because he's the only SSR. And also I do want to give a special shout out to Nishinoya if you do actually don't have Ushijima at dupe 2, because what Nishinoya says actually able to do is that when he's received, it's not bad. You're actually able to reduce your power spike by 6 net crossing. So even if your Ushijima, let's say, it's not actually at any dupe, your natural net crossing cooldown for his ultimate has 8. If you do actually do a critical spike, you'll be able to reduce it by 1. And then if you're then able to further reduce it by 6, you then are able to actually do a back-to-back ult with your Ushijima, even if he's not at dupe 2. So Nishinoya can definitely be a very good pairing with Ushijima, but obviously for my case, my Ushijima is ready dupe 2, so I don't actually need that effect from Nishinoya. I'm just placing Nishinoya here because he is an SSR and the only SSR liberal right now. Okay, then in terms of the other teammate, I have Iwazuyumi. Like I said, just a flat increase to all of my critical damage. That's going to be hugely helpful for my Ushijima in order to try to get the most out of his critical spike each time. And then I have Suki, which is going to be the character that I normally alternate if I don't actually have my cooldown ready on Ushijima straight away, and then I can use this. Then that will increase my awareness for my next spike, which will definitely be Ushijima, because Ushijima, once again, my Ushijima is at dupe 2. So as long as I can alternate with one other player, I can guarantee my ultimate will be ready straight away. Okay, so that's basically the rationale for all of them. And then also for the last position, I'm using Tanaka right now purely for school bond, because I do need 4 Karasuno players on my team. So I have Nishinoya, Yamamoto, Yamaguchi, Tanaka, and also Suki. I could potentially also replace him with Asahi if I want to do it such as this. So I have Asahi here, and then I can have actually 3 very strong serve back to back. Personally, I'm just using my Tanaka because he has slightly higher star rating and therefore higher power. So that's pretty much the only rationale. Eventually, what I am actually going to consider is actually once I am able to get my dupes on my Enoshita, then I could potentially swap my Enoshita in here as well, because my Ushijima, like I said, it's only dupe 2, not dupe 7, so therefore he would actually still have a bit of stamina issue, and therefore having Enoshita can actually help me to solve that and give that longevity to my Ushijima. So that could be something I will also be considering doing in the future. But as you can see, my Enoshita is not built right now, and that's kind of why right now I'm just rolling with my Tanaka instead. To finish off this video with just a demo of the gameplay with Ushijima and hopefully showcase his back-to-back ultimate so you guys can see it in action yourself as well. This is just a normal practice match against a higher power rating, so just to make it fair and realistic. But yeah, so I started off with Yamaguchi surfing, and let's see whether I can get my very first. Okay, I lost the first ball, but that's fine. I just want to quickly get my first ultimate spike on my Ushijima and then show you guys how to reduce its cooldown, okay? So here you can see I'll be using my very first ult. Let's see whether we can get a crit hit. Yes, we managed to get a crit, and that would have reduced the net crossing by an extra 1, which is going to be nice. And now I will hopefully show you guys how to use his ultimate again very soon. Oh, that was a block kill. Come on, return it. Yes, returned. And you can see here, my ultimate's ready again. So this is basically a showcase of back-to-back ult, and that's exactly how much of a beast your Ushijima can be.